Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Small Business Storytellers. On today's episode, we're going to talk about marketing, and we are going to be joined by Ted Lau, who is the founder and CEO of Ballistic Arts, which is a full-service marketing agency, primarily in the B2B world. But the unique thing is he's been doing this for 20 years. And if you know anything about marketing, you know that marketing has changed quite a bit from this month to last month, much less over the last 20 years. So I'm excited to dive into this journey and this story a little bit. Ted, welcome to the show.
Hey, Seth. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Really happy to have you here on the show. How do you tell people, how do you describe what you do when you run into somebody and they say, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do?
Yeah. So I usually say, well, I do beer. I do scotch. I do whiskey. But when they go, oh, well, what do you do for a living? I go, well, I run a digital marketing agency.
Awesome.
Primarily, it's a lead generation digital marketing agency called Ballistic Arts. I tell people I started in the room above my parents' garage and kind of grew it from there. This iteration this time is that we help business to business companies, typically small, medium-sized firms that are struggling trying to get leads for their business. A lot of B2B people are like, I got to do the shaking hands and kissing baby. It's all about word of mouth. Like, you can't do digital marketing because my stuff is too niche. I'm very much into a specific vertical. So there's no digital marketing that can be done for my business. And what we've done is been able to help these companies grow and scale over time. And in fact, during COVID, we actually helped them grow and thrive, not just survive.
Love it. Yeah, it is always funny when people are, I in the podcasting space, very similar to people like, oh, a podcast wouldn't work for us. And it's true. Like, there's some companies where maybe a podcast isn't the best option for them. And maybe based off of some of what people want with their business, maybe people don't want to go into digital marketing. But something like digital marketing could be beneficial for just about everybody. So I run into some similar conversations where, like, podcasts wouldn't be beneficial for our audience. It's like, okay, that's fine. So you said you started this company was it the room above the garage, you said?
Yeah. So we used to call it the game room. It's kind of like where we had the piano, all the old board games, and the old ass TV, the Zenith TV that looked like, those big ass ones that had like radiation emanating out of them. That was where it was. And so I actually first started in my bedroom, and then when I actually had a business partner and had a staff member, I was like, hey, Mom, can I use the room that no one uses anymore to have an office, quote unquote? Yeah.
How old were you?
Oh man, you're dating me. Early 20s. I think it was 21 technically when I started. I think a couple months later I was 22. So yeah, early 20s.
Yeah. What was the first thing that you sold to somebody, and how much? I want to know how much it was, or if it wasn't, maybe it wasn't money. One person I had on the podcast, their first exchange was they designed a website in exchange for a pistol. So tell me about for a pistol.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, that wasn't me. So, okay, you mean for the agency, not the first thing I ever sold in my life.
Let's go with the agency. Yeah. What did your first product iteration look like?
Let me think. So I was kind of telling you just before we were recording that I actually started this as a video production company. So I was at the School of Communications so I'm in Vancouver, Canada. So Simon Fraser University was where I went to school. And I did the School of Communications, studied digital communications, and video production was a thing. Like, digital video is this new thing, right? And it was like, back then they still had it on tape, and you had to like firewire it into a computer and all this kind of stuff. And I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. That's what I thought I was going to be. And 9/11 just happened, and it was like, no one's hiring, let alone documentary filmmakers. So you got to figure out what to do. No one would buy no one would buy videos from me. Like, dudes would be like, I own a restaurant, I only have TVs in here, but like, I need a menu designed.
Well, and this is like before Facebook. So it's not
this
like
is before
like
Facebook, this is before Google, this is before YouTube. There was none of that, right? So I think the first video I sold was like a year later or 2 years into the business, because I'd have these people going like, no, I don't need a video, but hey, I saw that you got a nice brochure there. And I need a menu design for my restaurant. Can you do that? And I'm like, yes, I can. Right. And you know what? I think price wise, I don't remember. I remember thinking like everything was around $1,000. Like whatever I did was I charged $1,000. I don't know why. It's just that's the number I remember. I remember like the first website I charged was $1,000. And the thing was, because as a young entrepreneur, you're kind of like, you don't know what you don't know. And you're kind of just like, how hard can things be? How hard can it be to build a website or to do menu designs or whatever? And I would literally just make numbers in the air, like just as the dude's asking, like, this is how much. And then I was going to go and do it. And I'd go back to the room above my parents' garage, the game room, as we called it, and tell my business partner, like, yeah, so I didn't sell any video, but I sold a brochure, so we're going to do that. Or like, I sold a website, so we have to figure out how to program a website. And luckily enough, I had a talented partner at the time, and he was like, yeah, I did websites, build websites when I was for beer money. So there we go. But for me, like we did some free work when we first started, but very, very early on, I'm like, I don't care. Like this isn't a business unless we're making money. So that was the thing. So there you go.
What were some of the key iterations along the way? If you could maybe pick out 4 or 5, maybe it's less than 4 or 5, but a handful of like shifts in how you served people or in what you were actually doing. And I'll say I'm similar to you in a sense of like, I probably could have technically like shut down my business and restarted a new business that's like, but we've just stayed open and we've iterated under the same name over the last 7 years.
Yeah, for sure. So you know what, for the most part, the business has been the same. One, me being the, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Lead singer, head dish, bottle washer. I don't know. But in terms of iteration, was more around the clients that we served. So very early on, after, we were a video production company that then soon morphed into a graphic design company that then soon morphed into a web design company. And then we were like, okay, well, we can provide all these services. So we're going to be a full service digital agency. That was what we were going to do. For the first few years, it was, I guess the iteration was anyone that will hire us, we will do business for you. So there was very non-scientific. There's no niche. There was, you have money. I have a pulse. I can do this. I have Adobe. I will do it if you pay me. And it was just about survival. Like, can I make more than being a Starbucks barista? Because that's really what I was going for. Yep. And then later on, it was like, okay, well, maybe we should niche out a little bit and focus on more things. I had a buddy who I went to school with. His dad ran a bunch of junior mining companies. And so we worked with those guys because those guys needed the branding, the websites, the videos. And these guys are like, I raised $20 million to drill some holes in the middle of nowhere to like see if there's like ore samples that I can, push out to the market. And I remember this one dude was like, hey, Ted, I need a brand, a website, a video. I need all this stuff done in like 2 weeks. Can you do it? And I'm like, why do you need 2 weeks? He's like, I just raised, literally, he was like, I raised 20 or $32 million or whatever it was. And I need to get it out to the market as soon as possible. How quickly can you get it done? I'm like, 2 weeks there's no way. Dude literally pulled out a checkbook and was like, how much? And I'm like,
how much can I pay you to not sleep for the next 2 weeks?
Exactly. So like, I like in my head, like was doing quick math going, okay, it's going to cost them so much. And then I tripled the amount, Seth. I tripled it in my head and it was still not worth it. Like at the end of it, it was shit. It was not worth it. But it's kind of one of those things like, hey, better have the money in the bank. And I didn't sleep for a little bit, being in your 20s, whatever. I wasn't married and have kids, whatever. And then next iteration was after the recession happened. I was like, okay, well, so all those guys went the way of the dodo. Like same dude that wrote me a blank check, like a couple of years later, he owed me money. I don't know if it was the same dude. No, I think it was the same dude. So he owed me money and he was like 3 weeks behind. And I'm like calling on him, all this kind of stuff. And then he's like, oh yeah, come on down. I'll, write you a check and all this kind of stuff. I go to his office. He gives me a check and he's like, hey, give me a call on Monday. I got more work for you. The next Monday I call him, the phone lines go dead. Right. And it's like, oh, damn. But like the check cleared. So yay, all good. Right. Next iteration after the recession, I was like, I got to do something like, recession proof. So what can it be? So I'm like, well, people need housing. People need lawyers. People need accountants. People need healthcare. So we really focused on those 3 areas: healthcare, professional services, and real estate. And then being in Vancouver, the 2010 Winter Olympics came on. And so for a number of years, we grew into real estate marketing. Did that for probably a decade or so. All the while, we did have some ebbs and flows in healthcare. We did a bunch of work in that space, as well as some professional services. But really, it was working with these kind of billionaire egos, which in and itself, yeah, there's money in it, but oh my God, some of these egos, you just oh my God, right? Yeah. And so that was a little much. Bought out my partner in 2019, and I was talking to some of these key clients of mine. And I'm going, well, I want to grow into something else. I want to add another department. What would you want me to do? And they're like, we want you to do social media. And I'm like, Jesus fuck, like, why would you want me? I hate social media. Why would you want me to do that? And they're like, well, Ted, you really understand storytelling. You're really good at it. You understand brand. And my social media guys, like, I like them, but I don't really know what they're doing other than getting me likes on Facebook. And sometimes I don't even like their posts. And I kind of went away and thought about it. And I was like, how much are you paying these guys? Like I was asking my client, oh, I'm paying these thousands of dollars a month. You're paying thousands of dollars a month. What are they getting you? I don't know, likes. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I went away and I'm like, I'm a small business guy. Like if I'm paying thousands of dollars a month to somebody, they damn well better be paying back that return, right? Like I better be making money on them. So I kind of went back and I'm like, so what if I got you like leads and like sales? And this client was like, Ted, if you did that, I'll never leave you. And to this day, this client is still with me, right? And so I've been working at it, and I had half a body at the time, right? Like it was my video producer who happened to work like previously at a digital marketing agency. I sold this package and I go, hey, Jay, can you do this off the side of your desk? And he's like, yep. And then now we've got like 8 or 9 people in that department, right? So it just, we kind of slowly grew it, and here we are.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's always fun to see like the different iterations along the way. You've been doing this for a while. It sounds like you've been through some interesting times, worked with some great clients and some not great clients. Why are you doing this? Like, what's the goal? What keeps you doing this?
Well, I think also that has ebbed and flowed and changed a bit. So a few years ago, when I bought out my partner, I'll tell you a little bit of the longer stories. I bought out my partner, and it was like, where is this company going? Like a lot of my staff were thinking that my former business partner, who was more the operator, he was not the visionary. And I was quite frankly scared. Like, oh my God, we have so many staff. I have to bring on all this business, yada, yada, yada. And I was freaking out, and I was having mental health, like kind of breakdown. I didn't really want to grow the business anymore because it was so stressful. And he was like, well, he bounced. He was like, I'm out. And the staff were kind of churning and all this kind of stuff. And I ended up seeing a counselor. Like I was like very close to shutting this thing down. I was like so stressed. And the counselor actually was like, he gave me homework to apply for jobs, right? I hadn't applied for a job since I was 21. I don't have a freaking resume, right? So I had to actually call like an HR buddy. I'm like, how do I write a resume? I have no idea what to do here. And then I did one of those, like, those auto click on Indeed.com and like a quick apply. Didn't get any responses. And I went back to see the shrink, and he was like, well, how do you feel about that? I'm like, oh, I fucking hated it. It was terrible. Like, why would you want me to do that? And then he was like, actually, funny enough, I actually didn't want you to actually look for a job. I just wanted you to feel that, because you said something before you left the last session about you started this business because you didn't want to work for somebody. And ultimately, that was kind of what it was. Like I asked my dad through this whole ordeal, like again, during the shrink exercise and all this kind of stuff, dude was like, ask people why, what they thought you were going to do when you grew up. So I asked my dad, I'm like, so dad, what do you think I ever was going to run an agency? Like at that time I was like 17 years in. Right. And so he's like, well, not really. All I knew was you couldn't work for somebody. And I was like, what? Like it was either run my own business or be homeless? Like that's really what you thought it was going to do? And he was like, well, pretty much. Right. And so I think fundamentally entrepreneurs, at least the ones that I know, are guys that kind of like to call, guys and gals that like to call the shot, that can't really function under a traditional organization. They have to call the shots. And I think, fundamentally, that's what it is. Now, that in itself may be a driver, but it isn't the thing that kind of keeps me going anymore. In fact, for me, because, I've been there, done that, and I've seen several iterations of running this thing, I actually like a few things. One being in a leadership capacity to help young people get into their career. So for instance, like I have a bunch of like 20-year-old, 30-year-olds that are, trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And if I can be that stepping point, like I'm not the largest agency in the world. I'm a little, boutique-ish agency. We got 20 staff or something like that. It's not very big. And so if I can be someone that can give them an in into the industry, for them to, show what they can do, show the world how great they are. And then I can, coach them along and help them grow their career. And it could be with us. It could be, later on down the road, they want to do something else. That's cool. So that's one. The other thing is this iteration of the business has been really, really crazy and great, because a lot of business owners struggle with growth and maintaining that and keeping the doors open. And if I can reduce that element of stress of where's my next meal? Where's my next job? Because I can provide them with solid leads through really great marketing. Hell, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love that you've seen your why kind of shift. And I think, the process that you've gone through to really like dive in and figure that out. And unfortunately, it sounds like it took you kind of getting to some level of rock bottom to figure that out.
Dude, I got hit hard, right? Like that year, partner left. I had 80% turnover. I had like 1-star Glassdoor reviews about how shitty of a CEO I am and all this kind of stuff. And I had, I think I got sued. I got the tax man calling me, like everything. Like it was like, and my marriage wasn't great. It was just frick, right? But it was a humbling experience. I have many a mentor who are great business people who said, yeah, I've hit rock bottom and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm glad that it happened. I have to say, I'm not all that glad that it happened.
Yeah.
I'm still not glad, but I think it needed to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to Daniel Pink yesterday. He was talking about this new book that he has on regret. They've been doing this big study on regret. And it was interesting because he was saying how oftentimes people feel like they either fall into the like having way too many regrets and being like obsessed with regret, which isn't healthy, or having like this like no regrets, like no, I don't regret everything that's happened. It brought me to where I am today. And he was actually saying how like that mentality of truly believing like no, live with like I don't regret anything, how that actually creates a delusion. Like when we're not honest about like, yeah, I like did some things that I would not do again, but those like I'm going to learn from those things. I'm going to like take that season. I'm going to admit and embrace and be like, yeah, that season sucked. I don't want to go through it again, but I learned from it. And it's just an interesting perspective shift as opposed to being like, yeah, no, I don't regret anything. It was great. And it kind of being this like delusional place.
Yeah, I was definitely delusional back then. I was very much a don't live with regrets kind of guy. And I mean, I think that a part of me is still not like I regret a lot of things that have happened. Certainly there have been some, drunken stupor nights, that I probably didn't need to happen. But at the same time, like career wise, I kind of believe that sometimes, you have to go through a particular journey to appreciate what you got. And it's I think it's made me hopefully a better person, better father, better husband because of it, better business owner. But I mean, it freaking sucked.
Right. What are some things that you're doing now to hopefully not end up in that place again? It sounded like you kind of got hit from a mental health standpoint. You got hit from a financial standpoint, from a customer. Like, what are some things business wise or personal that you're doing now to just stay in a better place so that you don't have to hit rock bottom in the same way again?
Oh man, that's a lot of things. So first of all, I think the notion of rock bottom and like not like avoiding to hit rock bottom is not kind of where I'm coming from. Like the situation at hand is going to be, it is what it is, and you can do what you can, but man plans and God laughs. I think that's a saying. And so I'm not really doing things to avoid anything. That's not kind of where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a place of acceptance and gratitude. That's kind of how I live my life these days. On the personal side, I wake up every day. I have a little morning ritual. I meditate, not that long, like 10, 15 minutes a day. In the morning. And then I work out for about 45 minutes, an hour. And then I have a gratitude journal I write and kind of like write out actually before I work out. After I meditate, before I work out, I write and it could be any random thing. Like, I'm grateful that I have hair on my head. I'm grateful that it's sunny outside. I'm grateful that I can breathe fresh air. And I'm grateful that I have a beautiful wife and a daughter, like those kinds of things. And it kind of sets me in a good place. And then the working out really kind of gets me in the zone, and then have a nice shower and go to work. And then at night, I meditate with my daughter. And we also do around the dinner table, we just share a couple of things of what we're grateful for. And then we actually say like, hey, this is the kind of the person I'm going to be tonight. And it'd be like calm or happy or whatever it is. And I found that has been really helpful. On the business side, we were a one-off project type business. So you hire me, I do X, I get paid, and away we go. And that was great because I felt like, kind of one and done and move on. And it was very stressful from a consistent sales standpoint. It's a 7-figure business. I'm still the only sales dude. I've had off and on salespeople come and go. I just had a salesperson just resign, like as your podcast started, right? Like literally just came into my inbox, right? So like they come and go. And by being the one-off salesperson, it was really tough because like you're always hunting for the next thing. And I was not able to sustain the growth. By having this recurring revenue model now that I have, where clients pay us on a monthly basis, it's a retainer, and our job is to go hunt for them from a marketing standpoint. And that has provided this regular, stable income every month that comes through the door. And so I'm able to stack on work more and more and more and more. And so that's been really helpful. I think understanding and appreciating operations as a role in the company is really important. I had a partner who, to his credit, was a great I wouldn't say a great operator, but he definitely did all the operations stuff behind the scenes. And I'd never really noticed how much work that was and what kind of brain you need to have. I am not an operator. I need somebody that can do that. And in fact, I have a CEO and an operations manager and an HR person. Like it's just, I need those people because those are not my strengths. So realizing that I have stuff that I love to do, but appreciating that maybe the stuff that I don't want to do or can do is actually a lot harder than I might think it is. And I don't know, appreciating the moment.
Right.
Like as shitty as life, quote unquote, can be, like hell, we're in North America for crying out loud. There's no bombs, there's no war, there's no famine. Yeah. Family's safe. Everything's good.
Yep. Yeah. Perspective is huge. And I think that going through crazy seasons in our life gives us perspective. As you've grown in your business, it sounds like you've also grown in just your awareness of where you belong in the business and what you should be spending time on. Sounds like you're not doing HR, like you're not doing operations. I'm sure I'm not sure. I'd be surprised if you were in there actually like uploading posts to Facebook and hitting publish for your clients. Where are you spending your time on your business these days that energizes you?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, absolutely. I'm not hands-on keyboard. I joke with my clients, like right in the computer that I'm using right now to talk to you is my main computer. I don't even have Adobe or any of the stuff on this computer, right? Like that's not my thing. My jam that I love to do is one, visionary. I like kind of thinking, where am I going with the company and what are we doing? So, we had been in Vancouver, Canada as clients and whatnot that we've had for, 18 of the 20 years that we've been in business. And then we're growing now across down the West Coast, United States. And that's been a lot of fun, building networks, building community, building relationships. I really enjoy that. I also enjoy coaching, like I said, some of my staff. I'm the old dude in the business. And so if I can help somebody with a career trajectory as to where they want to go and help them along, that's something that I really like to do as well. And I mean, the sales aspect, I still like that. And it's kind of the relationship building side of things. And so I have many a coach and my COO and my operator are like, oh, what the hell? Like, why are you still the sales dude in the company? And I kind of like, well, this is the only thing I do in the business. Like if I don't do this, what the hell am I doing? Like if I don't do this, I got nothing to do. I'm going to like become Tony Soprano and like start a gang or something. Like what am I, like a crime syndicate. Right. And so I need to do something. Now, new advisor that we're bringing on, he's kind of like, well, I have some ideas. And he kind of, I'm not going to say anything right now, but he floated me some couple ideas, and that kind of got me thinking. And so kind of got me inspired. Well, maybe I can step away a little bit on the sales side if this other thing kind of comes to fruition. So that's a stay tuned.
Cool. I look forward to staying tuned. Also, I apologize if there's background noise. They decided to have it be a construction day outside of our studio today, but
it's all good. Can't hear much. You have a good mic.
Unrelated question, but that I have to know the answer. I was like, am I going to ask this or am I not?
I'm an open
on
book
your
now.
website. It's fun. You have, clouds and a moon and all this stuff. Okay. So I see some hidden objects in the clouds, and I feel like they're there for a reason. So I see a little bird, I see a woman's face, I see a unicorn, and I see a bunny rabbit. And there's probably other things that I don't see. I want to know I want to know why you hid these. What are these Easter eggs for?
These Easter eggs were something that, so maybe I'll take a step back. So, creative agency, creative owner, you could probably imagine the kind of youth that I had once upon a time. And so that was kind of an ode to that. I'll leave it at that. Funny enough, that brand is super old, and we're actually launching a new website. Well, I've been saying that for the last 18 months, but cobbler's kids and all that kind of stuff. But we're supposed to be launching a site. I should name drop my I'm not going to do it. I was going to name drop my web project manager to give pressure to him. I told the world that you got to do this. But anyway, so we're supposed to launch a new site, and that's going to be gone. But it's kind of like the idea was we're not exactly what you think we necessarily are, and that's kind of true in life, right? Like what we put out right away is not exactly everything that meets the eye, right? And so that was kind of that nod, and we've done that a few times. I think this next iteration is going to be a lot cleaner. I think drug-induced Easter eggs is not necessarily a thing that my team seems to be all that inspired about. So we'll see. Again, old dude, listen to a lot of rock.
You're the owner. You can do what you want.
I guess.
That's awesome. So as I think this has been great, and it's fun to hear more about your story and your journey of the ups and downs. For the businesses that are listening, there might be some that are kind of in that position where we were saying at the beginning, where they're like, yeah, digital ads not really for me, or lead generation online. Today it's April 14th of 2022. This will be live sometime in May. What are some of the biggest opportunities in April and May of 2022 that you see for lead generation? Where should people be paying attention to if they're wanting to grow their business through online lead gen?
Well, I think, I'm going to speak to the B2B clients that we typically help. If you're somebody that's like, I only can do this by word of mouth, and that's all you've done, I would suggest you go and talk to somebody, because in fact, it is not the case anymore. And so where low-hanging fruit stuff, most of these guys' websites are not great, but you got to make sure that it's meant to have really good user experience so that it targets the right audience. Make sure you have really good call to actions. I mean, you can visit my website, ballisticarts.com. We have a whole blog section where you can find tips and tricks. Other things is make sure that you target your content, your ads to a specific profile of who you're targeting. And I would try things like YouTube ads. I would try things like Google ads, LinkedIn. These are all things that even if you put a little budget in, you're going to give it a whirl. Do your tracking, put in something like Hotjar to do heat mapping and see how people are interacting with your website. Those are probably going to be the things that are going to go. Most important thing is I would come up with a plan. This is what we do with all of our clients. We actually have it's like a workout plan. I want to run the Boston Marathon in this time frame. So for you as a business owner, what do you want to do in the next 6 months revenue wise through your digital marketing? And then track that, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you.
I thought that we're supposed to just
another drug-induced reference.
I thought we were just supposed to set goals at the beginning of the year and then kind of just hope that they happen. And then come November, we're like, oh crap, what were those goals again? And we look at them.
Well, you could, but if you don't check, right? And so that's the thing. Our team does check every 3 months for our clients and like, hey, have we been hitting your goals? What are we doing? Yada, yada. And I think clients appreciate that because you're right. Like a lot of business owners are just like, I don't know, shotgun approach and see what sticks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is very true. And I think that's really valuable. You guys are actually creating that roadmap for them because it's not as common as you'd think in that space. And also there's just so many different ways people can use digital advertising. Right before I got onto our meeting, I was actually publishing some Facebook ads, and we're actually doing it just because we were having a hard time this week deciding between a handful of names for a new podcast that we're doing. And so it was like, cool, let's create a micro ad that is very similar, swap out the name for it, and put it in front of people that have no context to who we are, that are in the right audience, and let's see which one gets the most clicks. And so there's so many different, like, I think once you open your mind of like what you can be doing, there's just so many different ways you can use digital advertising that can help your business.
100%. 100%. Like that's what's called multivariant testing or A/B testing. Some people call it. That is really, really powerful. And I love that because I mean, first 17 years of the business, it was all creative. So you have these clients going, is that the right baby blue? Can we tint that a little bit? Can that font be, 15% bigger? And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like, oh my God. Sorry. I don't know what kind of listeners you have. Probably, you're going to beat the crap out of this interview.
It is Holy Week.
But I mean, it is Holy Week. It is right. Good Friday's tomorrow. And so I was, sorry, baby Jesus. I'm sorry. And so I had this client that was like, I really want this kayak. Like he was selling private condos, luxury condos on a private lake. And he had this picture of a kayak sunset. I don't know how much money he spent on the drone shot and all this kind of stuff. And he really wanted it in the ad. And I'm thinking like, there's no way this is going to help sell, condos. All right. We stuck it in an ad set and then we tested it. And when that ad came back as the least effective, most expensive ad for him, I didn't have to argue anything. I was just like, do you still want to run this beautiful picture? I didn't know SaaS, right? But I was like, do you want, nope, we're good.
Yeah. The data makes it easier to make those decisions.
Yeah. Like back in the day, I'd have to argue as to why and and they're like, well, you're just one guy, whatever, now it's like, here's the data. You decide. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So there's so many different ways people can use digital advertising and lead gen. So I think if some of our listeners, if they're thinking like, well, like we don't know how we'd use it, like just be creative and think about it. Like, is there data that you're wanting to get from your audience? Have a conversation with someone. For those that are listening, who is the right business, the right partner for you guys that if they're listening, they're like, okay, I should get in touch with these guys.
Yeah, for sure. If you are a, business to business company and you sell a service or a product that is super niche, you have a very specific audience that you're trying to go after, and you're kind of a mid-market, 5 to 20 million kind of business, we're probably the right fit for you because you've probably tried digital marketing, but you've maybe done in-house or hired a smaller agency and haven't gotten the results. Well, I mean, our team has been really good at that targeting and it's really worked. So we've had, come to my website, check it out. There's a lot of case studies. You can read that. Come
to the website and see the unicorn and the bunny in the clouds before it's gone. Awesome. Well, we will link in the show notes to ballisticarts.com. And Ted, this has been a pleasure. It's been fun to hear more about your journey and in your business and where you guys are going. So thanks so much for joining us.
Seth, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And thank you for letting me rant and swear.
Absolutely. Anytime.